Can Sean McVay, boy genius, cook up success for the Rams in 2023, or will they take the classic dumpster dive down in the standings? Find out in this Los Angeles Rams 2023 season outlook.
ATL Jacob, ATL Jacob.
What is up, YouTubers and sports people all around the nation? I am Chase's older brother, Chad. I run my own channel called CSC Productions. I film trains, I talk about them, but I'm also an avid sports fan. Go Lions. To put it lightly, the 2022 season for the Rams was, well, it sucked. 5-12, possibly the worst defending Super Bowl champions ever. I mean, that's what you kind of get when you go all in one year. I kind of expected them to fall off a little bit, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. It's also bad enough that when the highlight of your season is a blowout 51-14 win near the end of the year against the Denver Broncos with not Stafford, but Baker Mayfield of all people. Yes, that Baker Mayfield. To put it lightly, I had a lot of expectations for the Rams. I at least expected an 11-6, 12-5 season again, maybe another run to the NFC Championship game. They didn't even come close to that. That's one of the few teams of last year that I've actually felt genuine disappointment in. And it kind of all started with, like, the Bills game on opening night. I could tell something looked way off. And then after a couple weeks, that 6-game losing streak, it just had me in disbelief. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, how much has to go wrong for that? And it actually happened. So, like, I'm still at a loss for words about that.
Looking at the Los Angeles Rams with their adds and losses, they lost way more than what they gained. Taylor Rapp goes to Buffalo, A'Shawn Robinson to the Giants. Baker Mayfield, who came in as their December quarterback, goes to Tampa. Nick Scott goes to Cincinnati. Great Gaines, Tampa. David Edwards, Buffalo. Troy Hill's a free agent still. And then also they released Bobby Wagner, who goes back to Seattle. And then they made away with the trade with Jalen Ramsey to the Miami Dolphins. So they lost a lot of pieces. But hey, they added Coleman Shelton. I don't know. Like, it's a lot of new things are going to be coming out with the Rams this season, especially with their defense. But I will say, if you keep Sean McVay in mind, and he is a deep thinker and creative offensive play caller, a lot of things snap with this offense as they bring Matt Stafford back off of injury. So in Hollywood, the stars normally align. Where were the Ram stars last year? Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, they were MIA in November and December and January. They just didn't play the rest of the season. Matt Stafford, 68% of his passes were complete, had about 2,087 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 87.4 passer rating, a little bit below the league average. It was a rough year for him. He got sacked a whole lot of shuffle from their Super Bowl offensive line, so it took him a minute to get comfortable with his footing. Yeah, Cam Akers, 188 attempts, 786 yards, 7 touchdowns. Looks to be a bright spot in this offense this year. Can't wait to see what they're able to do with him running the football and catching out of the backfield. And obviously Cooper Kupp. He had 75 catches in 9 games, 812 yards, 6 touchdowns. So he was averaging about 8 catches to 90 yards a game. And quite nearly a touchdown a game. So he was still very dominant, just we didn't get to see the full sample size of what it was. And, you know, obviously the Rams, with how their season went last year, they basically gave up right around late November after the Chiefs game when they lost to Mahomes, when Bryce Perkins, of all people, was their starting quarterback. They went through so many guys, so it was pretty rough. Van Jefferson had a very, very down year. He had 24 catches, only 3 touchdowns. Ben Skoranek had 39 catches. Tyler Higbee was a bright spot. Those 72 catches, 620 yards, 3 touchdowns at the tight end position. So he is obviously a mainstay in this offense. Running the show, Sean McVay, the offensive coordinator and head coach. He's not technically the OC, but he basically calls the shots. Remember in 2021, all the way through that Niners game, Week 18, when he had like an undefeated record going into halftime with the lead, and then the Niners did it? Remember when the Niners beat the Rams twice last year, and then the year before, and the year before, and the year before, except the postseason, the Rams won the Super Bowl? The Niners have Sean McVay's number. And Sean McVay said at the end of this past season he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. Is this a reload for the Rams? Or is it a rebuild? it certainly looks like a rebuild if you have some older guys up there who aren't necessarily getting along with the curve. But then again, with Sean McVay's excellent wit and Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius type style and hair, anything's possible. He's got to draw up some great creative plays that'll get his guys open, scheme them open. Matt Stafford, his quarterback's got to feel comfortable while he's in the pocket. Cooper Kupp, get him open, get him on some creative routes that'll really relieve some pressure off of Matt Stafford. Van Jefferson on the outside as the deep threat, make the defense fear taking the top off of it. And then Ben Skoranek, who looked as though he was a Cooper Kupp Kmart version, but, as a pass catcher. Tyler Higbee, I just mentioned all these receivers and pass catchers and the quarterback. But, if he's able to get these guys into great positions and these players are able to make plays when they're needed to, then maybe the Rams offense is going to be one of the best in the National Football League, and they will have a revitalization. But it all starts with Sean McVay. Just like I said in the Cardinals video, I don't know a lot of these guys on this defense, but there is one star, number 99, Aaron Donald, matches overall on Madden. One of the most dominant, if not the most dominant defensive tackle of all time. He single-handedly, I'm not going to say single-handedly, but he single-handedly put their defense on his shoulders and won him a Super Bowl in 2021. Despise him for that. But Aaron Donald had a down year last year, 49 tackles, 5 sacks, forced fumble. Hopefully he can get back to his dominant form and encourage his teammates like a Bobby Brown III up front who had 8 tackles. Marquise Copeland had 31 tackles and a sack. A lot of guys that they were on the team, they didn't really have a whole lot of experience, and they got a lot of their experience later on in the season in 2022. So hopefully those guys are able to, grow and have those strides from last year carry over into this year and along with training camp. Linebacking core, Byron Young, Michael Hope. He's from Ohio, actually. He had 4.5 sacks last year, 36 tackles. One of the brighter spots on their defense. The middle linebackers, Christian Roseboom only had 8 tackles, but Ernest Jones had 114 tackles, a forced fumble and interception. So he's going to have to fill some big shoes for Bobby Wagner, who goes back to division rival Seattle. In the secondary, Ahkello Witherspoon comes over from Pittsburgh. Didn't play a whole lot last year, got hurt. He had 20 tackles, an interception, and 2 passes defended. So hopefully he'll take over as the number 1 corner in that room. Jordan Fuller was hurt as well. He had a great season in 2021 and in 2020. So that's going to be a big get for them. Russ Yeast, 20 tackles, still not a lot of experience. Darion Kendrick, 43 tackles, 4 passes defended. He's going to be starting on the outside. And then the number 14, actually a guy that I really like, Kobe Durant, 22 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 5 passes defended. Good nickel corner. And, he's able to stay with a lot of slot receivers. Not going to cover a whole lot of tight ends, but really just a lot of quick, speedy guys that he can keep up with his long and wiry frame.
Now, the Rams are going to start off the year in a very, very difficult way. First 3 games are against playoff teams from last year. Week 1 is against Seattle. I think if you could somehow win that game, you might feel good about going into the season. Week 2 against San Francisco is going to be weird. The game I have circled for the year is the Super Bowl 56 rematch against the Bengals. If you can prove that you can beat them and not let them get their revenge, I think it's going to be good. Now, for comedic purposes, if they beat Dallas in Week 8, it would just be funny because screwed Cowboys. Seriously, they're annoying. The weirdest loss, I should say, would probably be Week 13 against massage enthusiast Deshaun Cosby Weinstein. Now, we all know Deshaun had a very, very weird last year and a half. And if they lose to the Cleveland Browns, especially at home, where it's LA, that could just be really, really detrimental to your season, ruin any playoff hopes that you might have, and possibly, if you're worse than last year, eliminate you from playoffs.
Now, if you don't know, my brother hates the Cowboys, so he didn't check out that Cowboys video. But when talking about the Rams' prediction this year, it's going to be tough for them to dethrone the top 2 teams in their division, the Niners and the Seahawks, which those videos are coming up shortly. But with the Rams, with the amount that they lost and the amount of room that they have to grow with their roster and the coach is trying to gel with these players and some of the opponents they have on the schedule. Like Chad mentioned, 3 teams off the bat that played in the playoffs this past season: Philly, Dallas, obviously their divisional opponents again, the Giants later in the season. It's going to be tough for the Rams, and I think they're going to finish anywhere between 6-11 and 7-10. When you're playing Seattle, it's going to be a matchup nightmare. When you're playing San Francisco, anybody, it's still going to be a matchup nightmare. So we'll see how the entire season fares for the LA Rams, and we'll see if they end up making a bounce back and maybe slipping into the playoffs this year.